But to everybody on the line, a big welcome to Peter Robbins. He's the program chair of our fantastic marketing, innovation and technology program. And I'm going to hand over to you now, Peter. Okay.
Super. So hi, good morning, everybody. I'm delighted to get the opportunity to talk to you. I'm very sorry that we're not meeting in person, but I think for those of you that have dialed on, oh, well, I see my colleague Orla there. I was going to say that this is the most exciting program we have in DCU, but Orla might challenge me on that. But anyway, I think when you're thinking about the sort of career that you'd like to have in business and the kind of energy and adrenaline, a lot of it is happening in this area of innovation and new product and service development. It's an area in which I've spent much of my career in business and sort of fell in love with the idea of what comes next for companies and being exploratory and experimental and trying out new business models and that kind of stuff. Because in a way, innovation makes the world go round. These days with blockchain and the Internet of Things and cloud platforms and software as a service and driverless cars and drone technology, you could be forgiven for thinking that it's the time of unparalleled innovation. But actually, that's not necessarily the case. But let me just show you, like, what's the case? Why do companies get involved in innovation? They generally want to find some piece of uncontested space, some little element of competitive advantage where price isn't the only axis. And in a way, the way the business world works is that we start at the beginning when things are going well for an organization and it's enjoying success. But very soon the competition rushes in. And you'll have seen that in all the things that you're interested in. The competition rushes in and the proposition becomes commoditized. And that means that the only axis of competition is price. Price is the only thing that consumers are interested in then. So that gives rise to an urgent need to refresh things with some level of innovation, new product and service development, to make the brand or the proposition more compelling and more relevant, more attractive, and providing some competitive advantage and some success. And then the cycle starts all over again. But you kind of might be forgiven for thinking that this is a relatively new phenomenon, but in fact, it's been going on for over 250 years, from the invention of the steam engine through to factory production, and then the widespread availability of electric power, and then to computing and automation, and now to the very exciting fourth industrial revolution with powerful networks and the internet and complex adaptive systems. So it's a fabulous time to be in business, and the emphasis on innovation has probably never been higher. But now these days we're looking at autonomous vehicles, quantum computing, nanotechnology, robotics, and artificial intelligence. And the Mint degree is a degree that equips you with the skills and tools and the frameworks to understand what's going on. If you're interested in being in the vanguard of what's happening in technology and in business and in innovation, then this is the course for you. Should also say that it's a very exciting time in business. Like it really is an exciting time. There's an expression that you'll hear the minute you come into the business school, or any business school for that matter, called VUCA, which is derived from the Gulf War fighter pilots, as they described the conditions they needed to operate under when they were on missions. But now it's the sort of thing that we use to describe business, that it's complex. Well, sorry, we'll start with the V. It's volatile, it's uncertain, it's complex, and it's ambiguous. And let me just give you a couple of examples. So many businesses these days are struggling to see where the future will lie in a post-COVID world. You see today, for instance, in the UK is the first day that crowds will be allowed back at sporting events, and that discos and indoor activities are being scaled in or incrementally introduced. So it's kind of an exciting time, but it's complex. Then we have, it's also very clear in the US that both politics and policing are broken, and that we have a lot of polarization in societies and in politics. But in most of the markets for us in business, we're seeing that there's a level of competition that we hadn't seen before. And every organization is moving now was moving to a digital first platform, to be online first and mainly, but now that's been like turbocharged by COVID. And all of this new technology, I was in a meeting the other day with the guys who design the interior of Ferraris and Maseratis, and it's very interesting what what will be the future of the interior of the car. This is a company called Pininfarina. You'll see the little black horse on the side of Ferraris if you're fortunate enough to be close to them. But they're wondering, Tesla has figured out that the future of the interior of a car is a big screen that controls everything, and Mercedes and BMW have followed that. But Volkswagen and stuff are thinking that it will be gesture control. And then other people think that it will be voice control. So all of those technologies are really important. And in a way, only the market will decide which is the dominant one. And then more, increasingly, markets are being radically reinterpreted, like the insurance market or the banking market, by artificial intelligence. We're also finding in business now that the size of the business, the reputation, the history, the international footprint, these are really no barriers against somebody coming up with a better value proposition, a better user experience, and capsizing legacy businesses. We have issues now around, recently resurfacing around Brexit and our biggest single customer in the UK and how we manage for that. And then we have, as you know, Trustpilot, TripAdvisor, anybody can try and ruin a brand by giving it a bad rating or starting some sort of Twitter storm about it. So there's a rising consumer power, and the internet is driving out any possibility that people have to make supernormal profits, because people shop offline, or they used to, and then they buy online. So everything is accelerating. The time to market for the next version of stuff is much faster than it used to be. And then we're finding in some markets that they're trying to protect their domestic market and support their domestic suppliers. So in international business, it's a volatile, dynamic place to be. Then we've got increasing regulation and a sort of the speed of everything. So you're hearing about methodologies of Scrum, of Agile. It's really important. But ultimately, if businesses don't successfully innovate, they perish. They will be brutally swept aside as being totally irrelevant. And that's what's at the heart of the design of the Mint degree. We've got a program that focuses on ideas, on creativity, on the mindset of entrepreneurs, about how to frame ideas, how to test them, how to persuade people, how to resource them, and how to bring them to the market. And increasingly, surveys will show you that people who bring creativity and new ideas to a business are hired faster, they're paid more, and they're promoted faster than people who merely pull the existing levers of an existing business. So Mint has been designed and refined with industry experts from some of the leading companies. And our program draws on, so with the business school, it doesn't have much competency around the area of design. It doesn't have huge competency in physical computer studies or engineering. So the Mint degree draws on the best people in the university in those areas. So we give our students exposure to some of the other faculties and stuff. I mean, I'm always impressed by Peter Drucker, who wrote about 100 books after he turned 60. So there's hope for everybody. But he was basically saying to drive a business, you need marketing and innovation. Everything else is a kind of an overhead. Simplistic, but not totally inaccurate. And when we look at surveys about what's keeping the business leaders awake at night, it's always that innovation is their biggest challenge. It's the biggest thing. And in fact, for most of them, they think, gosh, this is our most important element, but actually only 6% of them believe that they have the people and the know-how and the skills to win at innovation. And it's for that reason that we're training up the next generation, which could be, hopefully will be you, as innovation specialists. So let me just give you an idea of, to do a little time check of what would you learn in Mint. There are a couple of pillars that the university has decided are vital for, are characteristic and seminal for DCU graduates. We want them to be creative. We want them to think beyond obvious solutions. We want them to be people who are competent and confident with creativity. So we have you'll see in every year, there are modules that will help people generate, incubate, and launch or introduce new ideas. But we also want them to have the capacity for critical thinking, so that, that they won't see all ideas as equal, or that they will consider the ramifications of different ideas in terms of the ethical outcomes. And so therefore, I'm just sort of putting this up, it's rather complicated, but our degree structure for Mint has, and these are the years, the first year, the second year. Third year is a work placement year where we place you somewhere interesting to use the skills that you pick up in first year and second year. But the first year module, Life, I'm going to show you a 1-minute video on it. Then we introduce you to business analytics, we talk about critical thinking, and we're interested in technology. We've modified the modules on economics so that they're not so daunting and that they're very relevant for people interested in innovation. And then marketing as a generic skill, but then specifically marketing of high-tech products. And then of course, once you're interested in marketing and ideas, then there has to be some way that we can test the market and see who's leaning forward and might be interested in new products and services. So we need to know whether an idea has a heartbeat. So that's how we use market research. Then in second year, I won't go through them all, but we teach you how to work with people and organizations and how to thrive. In the middle there, you'll see a new one that we're introducing called the Innovators Toolkit. So wherever you're working, whatever projects they're working on, there will be skills that you'll need around design thinking or designing for digital or understanding about sustainability. We're introducing that into a module. Again, we'll focus then on data analytics and understanding the consumer and how to manage sales and distribution and how to move into international markets. And this year, for the first time, we're introducing web design because we know that students want to know all about HTML and CSS and be competent to create a decent website. And then our final year, a lot of these things are then amplified. Bigger modules, more specific around marketing, entrepreneurship, strategy, digital, IT, etc. So the degree has been deliberately, purposely created to equip you with the tools and skills to succeed in this sort of high velocity environment. But let me just give you a sense of the first year, one of our modules in the first year.
We focus on teaching about entrepreneurship and innovation across all spectrums of enterprise through our BOSS model. B stands for big or corporate enterprise. O for own or entrepreneurship. S stands for small or family business. And our final S stands for social enterprise.
We wanted our students to experience how innovation unfolds in large global organizations. So we partnered with Citibank. Their head of design thinking came in and worked with our students.
We know that 1/3 of our students actually come from family businesses. We flipped the classroom whereby students applied the concepts learned in class to real-life case studies of multi-generational family businesses right across Ireland. We had 5 hackathons in 5 days, focusing on social innovation issues with mentors, speakers, and special guests to work towards innovative and enterprising concepts that could help.
Okay, so that's a first year module that we designed and introduced a couple of years ago, and it's now gone on to win awards both in Ireland and internationally as a very innovative module. I mean, we're trying to see beyond the obvious ourselves and to immerse our students in an experience that's rich so that they can observe and reflect and engage with businesses. So I've sort of gone through this. What do you get in the first year, the second year? The third year, we organize a work placement for you. Obviously, in the pandemic, for the last 2 years have been the first years in the 30-year history of our intra program. DCU is the first and the best university at placing students and in a paid work placement. Last year was the first year we only were able to place about 80% of our students. All other years for the prior 27 or 28 years, we've had a universal 100% placement record. And by the time you come in, we will be back to that. As I touch wood as I say that. But if that doesn't work out, if for instance you weren't able to get a placement, you can go straight to fourth year and compress the degree into a 3-year degree. Or alternatively, we have partnerships with exciting universities around the world, and you could go and study abroad for a year. The sort of places that we put our students in intra are, we either bring them into large companies at the leading edge of particular industries. OpenNet is a leading telecom software provider. The other brands you'll know about, we have public and private sector, Enterprise Ireland and Board BIA from the public sector, but they are commercial semi-state. And then we've, car companies and FMCG companies and stuff. And then we've a lot of SMEs where perhaps you get a broader experience doing more things. But in the larger companies, you tend to get, leading edge experience doing less things, but doing them to, a really high level. In terms of our partnerships, we're constantly working on that, but we do have partnerships in the US, in the University of Illinois. We have had students in Arizona State University, and then we have students in China, South Korea, in Slovenia, and we place students in France, Germany, and Spain. So after second year, I think we find it's great for students to take a year out and reflect. It's really good for them to go into the companies and use the skills that they have gained. And then we ask students to come back, and we ask the employers to come back and say, how did our people do? Are we teaching them the right things? And so we're constantly flexing to make sure that we're in tune with the needs of business. So anyway, other than that, then we have loads of really interesting societies and entrepreneurship. In social innovation, we have a society called Electives, which pitches students from DCU against every other university. DCU have become the All Blacks of Electives, but they work on really exciting projects using the skills and tools of entrepreneurship to advance society's goals. And we also have international versions of Electives. There's one I'm just introducing this year called Severe. Not a great name, but it combines universities from Florence, Barcelona, Porto in Portugal, Glasgow, Dublin, and Montpellier. And we'll be doing social enterprise with those universities, and visiting, whoever joins this group will visit at least 3 of those universities in the next 2.5 years. So let me see, do I have it? Then the question of where do they go? Where do the Mint students go? We're increasingly getting organizations that want to come in and speak to the Mint people specifically. They go into roles in marketing and innovation. I think when you look at stuff like Indeed or jobs.ie or something like that, you'll see there is increasingly innovation roles, mid-manager, innovation managers. More and more companies are setting up innovation hubs in all these cool places like Talent Garden, WeWork, and the CHQ building, Dogpatch. And there are loads and loads of jobs, a proliferation of jobs, because these days it's very clear that innovation will be at the very heart of the recovery. So some of these things you'll see big companies like Jameson or Heineken or Mars, and then others in consulting like Deloitte and Accenture, Ernst & Young, etc. And then some of the cool companies, the cool tech companies like Microsoft and Google. So I see that we just have 6 or 7 minutes left, and I might stop sharing now if that's okay, because I can see that there are some Q&As, but I can't see what they actually are. Hi, Caroline.
Hey, how's it going? Sorry, I see that my green screen, I think I'm gonna have to take down the green screen, to be honest with you, Peter. It's more trouble than it's worth this morning.
Looks like you're on fire there, as usual.
No, or I thought I was like mimicking a party type atmosphere here, which I'm not. Okay, so let's crack on with them because we've got a number. So the first is, how much of this course is technology based?
I'd say maybe 8%. I'd say like maybe 3 modules out of about just over 30.
I think we should maybe do a follow-up to that, because I sometimes feel like students that are going for Mint are a bit maybe intimidated by the tech, like they see bio written on the first year modules and stuff like that, but maybe to reassure that it's very
Well, sorry, I'm glad you raised that, Caroline. Yeah, very good point.
Yeah.
So there's a difference in some of the courses that you'll hear about, and I think the dividing line is the word coding. Do you have to do coding? And in Mint, no. I'm seeing that my Mint graduates, our Mint graduates, will be people who will commission coding, but won't have to do it. So that's, I think when you hear about digital business, that'll have coding, a bit more coding in it. So so don't be daunted by that. It's just an exposure to how technology changes society and the sort of cool things that people can do these days, so that when you're in business, you can understand, actually, maybe we don't need this team or department. Maybe we should be exploring different technological options.
Okay. I'll go through 2 of the more just straightforward answer ones. First of all, is there a language option in the course, and can you do a year abroad instead of intra? You've already answered one of those, but
the year abroad is possible. We don't have a language on Mint, but we have had a couple of people who've done it as an elective on top of their course, but it doesn't count for the degree, and we don't have a language in it.
okay. And can you choose a major in your final year in Mint?
That's a good question. I mean, sorry, the entry pathways and the exit pathways, we're working on that. And by the time, if you're in 2022, by the time 2025 and 2026, I would say that will be the case. At the moment, we have options in marketing, in entrepreneurship, in some organizational management stuff, but it's not yet available to specialize, say, in HR or something quite yet.
Okay. What is the difference between Mint and digital business?
That is a brilliant question, and possibly one you should. I'll tell you, I think the difference is digital business is a new one for us in DCU, and you'll be hearing, I think Brian Harney's on, or has he been on already?
No, he'll be on after you. Yeah.
Good. Well, stay on the line, and you should be able to find out. But generally, some of the techniques in IT, like Scrum, Agile, design for digital, we will touch on, but they will have coding at the heart of it. So that will be a more technical program. It will be a great program, but it'll be a more technical program than Mint.
Okay. The next one, can you take Irish electives in this course, Peter?
I think we can. I mean, all of our students and our staff are offered Irish electives, but as I say, it would be on top of what you'd be asked to study for the degree.
Yeah, so, like it's extracurricular. I can say from an extracurricular perspective, I've studied Irish in DCU just as a lunchtime thing. It's very nice. Yeah. When studying topics like marketing, are these all applied to technology or just marketing overall?
No, when you see marketing, it'll be sort of soup to nuts, almost literally. Sorry, we'll have people in talking about Kellogg's, Diageo, as well as Facebook and Google. So we go through the whole gamut of FMCG marketing, various industries, and then other modules will discuss specifically on high-tech products and the marketing principles and product management principles that apply specifically to them.
I'm also, I have to say, when it comes to careers, I'm not surprised, but it's notable how many entrepreneurs come out of Mint. Like I'm thinking here about Daniel Kine with Opinion X, Ian Gearan, who just started his own little tech startup and stuff like that. There is a lot of that too, isn't there?
Yeah, you'll find them all in Dogpatch and Talent Garden with spin outs from, I mean, we shouldn't take any credit for it. They're very smart people with with ideas that seem to solve a problem that hadn't been solved before. But it's the sort of philosophy that is highly encouraged in Mint, and those skills to make sure that if your idea has some traction, you know, how to test it, how to get support for it, how to build a plan around it, how to build a team around it, and how to introduce it with panache and success.
Okay, the final question, I think we're doing really well for time. So the final question is, does Mint offer modules like UX, design, or say CX?
Very interesting. Yeah, so we've just put in a web design in second year, which has UX and user experience and customer experience elements to it. It has CSS and HTML. And we've built an optional module into fourth year, which will continue with those themes, but in a way that you don't have to know Python or anything like that to do them. So yes, you will, those themes will be explored.